We'll go ahead and call the regular meeting, May 10th, Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Welcome, everybody. We'll go ahead and start the roll call. Kelly.
Kimball.
Present.
Davis.
Here.
Keen.
Here.
Latham.
Here.
Carey.
Here.
Campy.
Here.
Let the record show that all commissioners are present.
Fantastic. Staff, any amendments to the agenda this evening?
No, there isn't.
There is none. Perfect. Ceremonies, appointments, announcements, and/or presentations?
No, there isn't.
Okay, fantastic. Again, just a reminder, we do have a public hearing on the agenda this evening. If you'd like to speak or comment, you can fill out a card that is located on the podium in the back, and please turn it into Kelly up front, and we will get things started. Declaration of conflict. Anyone?
No.
I do want to state that I do work for Copper Basin Construction, and I am currently, but I work on their multifamily projects only, and I know for a fact that I wouldn't be involved in the in any financial interest or work in the hearing tonight. So I did want to state that for the record.
Okay.
And similarly, my company has projects with Copper Basin, but this is not one of them, and nor is it likely to be.
Okay. Appreciate the transparency. We are good to go there. Consent calendar. I would look for a motion.
Move to approve as presented.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. Kelly?
Davis.
Yes.
Kimball.
Yes.
Campy.
Yes.
Keen.
Yes.
Carey.
Yes.
Latham.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Which moves us to citizen issues. This section of the agenda is reserved for citizens who wish to address the commission on an issue that, again, is not on the agenda. Comments on this issues that are also planned for future meetings should be held, but is anyone here for citizen issues? Okay, none seen. We will move on. We have no unfinished or old business.
That's correct, sir.
So that will lead us directly to the public hearing. So again, if you do wish to comment, make sure you turn that card into Kelly. But we will go ahead and open up the Country Meadows Subdivision Amendment SA-1601. John Manningly to present.
Good evening, John Manley, Associate Planner here at the City of Post Falls, introducing the Country Meadows Subdivision Amendment. The owner of this application is Copper Basin Construction, LLC. The applicant's rep is Lake City, Inc. The requested action is for a recommendation of approval to amend the previously approved Country Meadows Subdivision for an additional 13 single-family lots. So I'll make a little bit more clarity that we're not approving the subdivision. The subdivision's already approved, so this is just an amendment to a subdivision that's already planned for an additional 35 lots. As you see here, and the additional 13 would bring the total for the project to 48 lots. The location for this project is, as you see here, in the majority of what you see here in the darker yellow was the extent of the original subdivision, and what you see highlighted here with the hatch, that would be the proposed additional 32 lots to the pre-existing 16 lots that were part of an initial phase of this subdivision. You can also see the R1S lots are your larger 1 acre lots to the west, and then to the east you also have your typical smaller subdivision type style lots. What you see here is in the initial subdivision, it was actually for 38 lots, and it was kind of brought up in the staff report, so I wanted to bring some more clarity on that. The 3 lots that brought it from 35 to 38 was what you see highlighted here in red. There was an option, as you see here in condition 12, that if the zone change was to R1, that they could complete a 38 lot. What ended up happening is, even though, as you see here, a zone change was approved, that was decided not to be part of that subdivision. So they just only implemented the 35 lot aspect of the initial subdivision approval. And here's where you see how the proposed project, and I'll go back to the other slide where you can look at the differences, how Genesec Loop comes down to the southeast, then goes to the northeast, and then comes back up to a more northerly direction, meeting back up with the intersection of Staples Road, of which then will be modified to go through a temporary access road to Chase Road here. So here's how it compares. You see how this is similar, but what's being proposed is just to move this to a northerly direction. So from a transportation aspect of this, is more like a minor change. What triggered this as a major amendment was the increased density that's being proposed with the project. There was some concerns that the city received regarding pedestrian access with this project. So what I attempted to do here was to provide a slide to kind of clarify the matter of how pedestrian connectivity will be completed from the west to the east, eventually to Grange Avenue, with Chase Road being kind of the terminus for both. So highlighted here in the dashed kind of elliptical circle is an area that's going to be transitioning. What you see in the red, that's not going to be part of this subdivision. That would be part of a future phase. What you see here in where it says out of city, this is still all in the county, so that at some time in the future will be completed. What would be completed with this subdivision would be, you see the blue, that's the kind of a general depiction of the change or the reroute of Staples Road to Staples continuing to Chase through a temporary access road. It still would be Staples Road, just it'd be more of an access road type design versus what would be to the west along this through this area. The proposed density for this project would be 2.45 units or lots per acre. The R1 zoning designation allows for up to 5 units or lots per acre, so it's about half of what would be allowed for the R1 zoning district. The water provider is East Green Acres Irrigation, with the sewer being provided by the city of Post Falls. So I'd stand for any questions you have so far with what's been introduced for the project.
I want to be clear on the road. So Staples would be paved at that portion?
Yeah, the intent is to have an improved surface from where currently it terminates and it goes to gravel, about this location, to extend the same road section that you see here to the west up to about this location where you see that red and blue and green, right about proximity there, and then it would have a temporary access road proceeding to Chase. So it would all have an impervious surface.
Okay, and that would be city maintained then, or private maintained? What?
Yeah, once it becomes city right away, then it would be city maintained.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for John? Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Dittman.
Chairman Davis, fellow commissioners, thank you. Drew Dittman, Lake City Engineering, 3909 North Schreiber Way, City of Coeur d'Alene. It's great to see you guys again at our monthly meeting. A little bit confusing. Let me see if I can clarify a little bit. As John had said, this is an amendment to a previously approved project. This plat up here was approved, I believe, in 2008, so a few years back. 35 lots total on roughly 21 acres. Copper Basin purchased the property in 2012, Steve. It had been approved, had not been platted or built at that time. Copper Basin bought the property in 2012, built the first 16 lots, as John had indicated, per the original approvals. We're here tonight to ask for an additional 13 lots in what would be Phase 2, so bringing the total to 48 lots. So I'll back up to this slide. So as you can see, the property is highlighted in red. So this is Chase. Oops. And this is Staples right here. So the subject property is highlighted in red. It's zoned R1. We've got R1 zoning to the east, R1 zoning to the south, R1S zoning being the Meadows subdivision to the kind of northwest there. The white pocket to the north, immediately to the north, is county property, has not been annexed into the city yet. Here's the amendment that we're asking for. So we've constructed the first 16 lots, which would be these lots right here, per the original plat. The remainder of Genesec Loop going out is more or less per the original approved plat. The difference is these lots that front Staples Road are smaller than the original approved lots, and therefore there's more of them. The reasoning for that, if I'll back up to this slide, is that property to the north that's in the county is ultimately going to come into the city. It's most likely to come in as R1. We've discussed that with staff. If and when it does come in as R1, you're going to see lots that are a little smaller than the 1 acre and the half-acre lots that are out there. That's what's being developed out in that area now. Actually, this map's a little bit old. If you remember, a few months ago, we came in with this property right here and zoned that R1 and are under construction on a project right there now called Whiskey Flats. So again, here's the proposal that we're asking for. It's an additional 13 lots above and beyond the original 35 lots that were approved. So originally, they're still R1. We're not asking for a zone change. Originally approved 35 lots, 21 acres, about 1.8 units to the acre. The amendment is 19.6 acres. That has to do with some right-of-way dedications that already took place. That's why the acreage is a little bit different. For a total of 48 lots, so we're upping it to about 2.4, 2.5 units per acre. Still in conformance with the requirements of R1 for lot size, for density, for all of the above. So I borrowed John's slide here, and I wanted to briefly talk a little bit about the plan here. The original plan that was approved had Staples Road coming through here and accessing Chase right here. The city's transportation master plan obviously shows Grange going through in this location. That puts these two intersections really too close for traffic to have two major intersections. So we've worked with staff, with Bill and Rob and John, on how to creatively fix that, being that we don't own this property that's in the county right now. So as I said, ultimately Grange Avenue is going to go through. So it makes sense to align Genesec Loop to ultimately turn north and connect into Grange so that there's only one intersection at Chase in the future. However, as I said, we don't own this property. It's not in the city yet. So as a temporary solution and basis, we're going to pave Staples out to Chase with a temporary access, which is this green line that John shows here. Up until the time that this is developed, then that green line will go away, that temporary access will go away. It'll be turned into a pedestrian access to ultimately connect into Grange as a pedestrian access only. So hopefully that clarifies a little bit of the street configuration. I'll be happy to answer questions. I'm sure there are some.
Questions for the applicant?
So Staples will still stay open to Chase, it just won't be paved, or it won't be improved at all?
No, Staples will be paved from where it currently ends, which is at this last house right here. Staples will be paved all the way out to Chase.
Okay, only that little tiny
This
portion?
piece will be paved on a, but it's a temporary basis until this
Okay.
Grange is developed, then that connection to Chase will go away.
Okay.
Because the intersections will be too close together.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And Drew, by temporary, you mean permanent until Grange Avenue?
Yes, it's going to be there for a while.
Okay.
Temporarily permanent.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Any other questions?
I think that was it for me.
Thank you.
Mr. Pittman, thank you. Mr. Manley, staff report.
Would like to clarify one item. The area to the north on Staples Road, we really don't know what that future zoning designation is going to be. And we're in the process of updating our comprehensive plan and zoning districts, and we may have some additional zoning districts to help in situations like this where you have large lots to the west and smaller lots to the east. So right now, we really don't know what that zoning is going to be at that location. But in reviewing the proposal, we did find that the lots meet and exceed the minimum lot dimensional standards, and that the proposed density is less than what's allowed within that zoning district of R1, and that this is intended to be the final phase, so it'll complete the subdivision. Another item is that Staples Road and Genesec Loop would be completed and improved with impervious surface, which would be a benefit to that neighborhood as they've had to traverse through the potholes and graveled road for some time. So this will be an asset to people to the east and west. Engineering commented in that the intersection of Staples Road and Chase Road to be removed upon development of the land to the north. So that was what Mr. Dittman was alluding to with the temporary access road, that part, that green segment that was represented would be removed at that time. Also, that other than the proposed minor change in the alignment of Staples Road and Genesec Loop, that it's to be consistent with the original proposal. So all the conditions that went with the original subdivision, none of those are being amended, so those still carry forward with this. All that's being really changed with this proposal is just the increase in lots, the 13 lots, and some minor road alignment stuff. Cooney County Fire and Rescue commented. They kind of recommend a conditional approval as presented. They would like to have no parking on side street signage applied to Staples Road. Part of that has to do with the method of, well, I'll go back to, I believe, with these widened shoulders through here. They just want to make sure that they can have fire access through that area. And Idaho Department of Lands commented, and they have no concerns with the proposal. I'd stand for any questions you have right now for me.
Is that no parking on both sides of Staples?
Yeah, that's what they said on the side of the street.
But on both sides, so no parking on the street at all.
Yeah, that's basically what I gathered from them for their comment, which is in PA-1. I can actually put it on the overhead. So here you can read the email received to staff regarding the parking.
Well, it says there, no parking this side of street, so I would like to clarify if that's both sides of the street, there's going to be no street parking allowed on Staples at all?
Mr. Melvin?
Yeah. Staples will be constructed to a 22-foot wide paved roadway, and so obviously if we provide parking, we're getting down below the 20-foot clear zone that the fire district wants in there. So their intent, I didn't speak to them directly about this, but their intent in reading this is not to have parking on either side so that they can maintain their clear zone that they want on that roadway. The parking wouldn't allow them to have their 20-foot clear zone.
Bill, I'm looking at the cross-section of Staples Road, and it looks like it's, what you typically see is that the developer's required to pave their half, their side, but maintain fire lane. So that's why it'll be on a temporary basis. It'll be if I'm looking at this right, it'll be 22 feet wide, but eventually it will be 36 feet wide.
Yes.
When that property to
When
the
that
north
property to
annexes.
the north develops and annexes, then at that point, we can start providing some parking on site on
Okay,
that street.
so it's not a permanent thing, it's just until eventually, temporarily permanent, I guess.
Or the other way around, yes.
Yeah, permanently temporary.
Yeah,
Might have coined a new term.
yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Okay, you bet.
So as you see in the conditions within the staff report, this particular item is not one of the conditions of approval of this amendment. So as part of the motion, if it is to approve, then would be to add this condition along with that set of findings and conditions.
Okay. Any other questions? Concerns?
And in that, potentially add, like what Ray alluded to, that until such time the north develops, and which widens it.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? We're good? All right, thank you, sir. Testimony. This is a time that individuals will be given 3 minutes to speak in favor, against, or in neutral of the public hearing. So we will start off. Kelly, do we have anyone in favor?
We do not.
Okay. Anyone neutral?
Yes.
Okay. We believe you have, is it Matt, is it Boseth? Yeah. Mr. Boseth, do you wish to speak, or? No, I'm good. Okay, all right. So we have Matt Boseth on Wickham Drive in neutral. Duly noted, thank you, sir. Kelly, in opposition?
We do not.
No, not in opposition. Therefore, Mr. Dittman, I don't believe there's any need for rebuttal. Any other questions for Mr. Dittman?
I guess I have one question, is that we're not going to be telling you how to architecturally make your lots, but I guess I'm still concerned that there's no parking on any of the street, and conditional upon eventually it'll come in, but we don't know when that's going to be. And, you know, having people buy lots with housing and having no street parking is a little bit of a concern.
Understood. So no parking will be a temporary, as Commissioner Kimball had discussed, because we'll be constructing 22 feet of Staples Road with our phase. Ultimately, when the property to the north develops, they will be required to put in an additional 14 feet of paving, which means the no parking can go away at that time. However, I believe city code requires, Russ, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2 off-street parking per lot. So we will need to incorporate that into the house design, the lot design, driveways to handle that. That's a city code.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate the clarification. Any other questions? Okay.
You're just talking just a driveway, is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
City code requires 2 off-street
Yeah,
parking
yeah.
spaces per lot.
There's no other solution? I also have a problem with that, with no, I mean, I know we have a lot of developments that don't allow, like in the PUDs and stuff, don't allow street parking, but you can if you have a function at your house or something like that. And this would be ticketed if it's posted no parking.
If it's posted no parking, yeah.
Which I have a little problem, because that could be, like
Unfortunately,
they said,
there's-
it could be years before
Sure.
that's developed.
There's not enough right-of-way on the north side of Staples to accommodate any wider of a road and additional parking, because that property to the north has not annexed. Yes, Ray?
Drew, on the prior subdivision plan,
Yes.
was that cross-section the same width as we're talking today?
I'm
Or-
fairly
or ver-
certain it was.
Okay, so it's not, we're not changing anything on Staples Road from last time to this time?
Nope.
Thank you.
And I can show that to you if you'd like, but I'm looking at it right now. It's the same, ultimately be a 36-foot section.
Okay, but the cross-section, we're not, the amendment to the subdivision is not changing the
It's
cross-section?
not changing the original
Okay.
approved cross-section, correct.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for staff? No? We're good? Okay. No more questions. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Start down your way, Warren.
I think it makes good sense to be able to increase their lots in that area. I'm a little bit concerned on the street parking, but obviously with 2 units per lot, I think that takes care of the problems, except for visitors, which we don't really have a lot of control over. We also talked about the temporary permanent access to Chase, which is going to be taken out, but I think not taken out, but just blocked to automobile traffic so that it's still a pedestrian access to north-south. And so I think it's probably good, I think it's a really good idea.
I agree with, as far as, I think the project change is fine. I don't have any issues with that. I do have concerns of no street parking. It could possibly be a long-term thing. We don't know that, so that would be my only concern right now.
Okay.
I think the temporary access off to Chase and the eventual solutions are very creative. And it's unfortunate that there's not enough existing right-of-way on Staples to build a full section. But again, that's not really part of our purview here tonight, because they're not amending that part of that subdivision, that part of the subdivision. They're just changing the density, but didn't change the cross-section of the road, so I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Mr. Latham?
Yeah, I'm really glad to see the applicant working with the city on the continuity. I'm familiar with that area in Grange Avenue. There's a lot of traffic that dumps out onto that currently because of all the long cul-de-sac dead ends back in there with Staples and all of that. So seeing that work, this is a good development in terms of that happening. And you know, I think those lots, they're fully conforming. I'd rather see them a little bit larger, but that's just me personally, and I don't think that's anything to do with tonight. So I think it's good overall.
Nancy?
I would have to agree. I would like to see the lots a little bigger. I like that there are bigger parcels out there now, and I like that. However, this isn't offensively small, so, in my opinion, so I'm okay with it.
Okay, yeah, obviously, we see some connectivity improvements, road improvements, and again, a reminder that it is well within the R1 limitations, so. With that being said, I would look for a motion.
All right. In the matter of subdivision PC, let's see what we got here. Scroll up. Country Meadows Subdivision Amendment SA 16-01. I would move to approve the amendment to the subdivision, adopting the findings and conclusions presented in the staff report, as well as the conditions, proposed conditions in the staff report, adding condition 13 stating that the developer shall install no parking signage as required by fire code and Kootenai County Fire and Rescue for Staples Road.
I will second that.
Motion put forth has been seconded. Kelly?
Davis,
Yes?
Kimball,
Yes?
Hampi,
Yes.
Keen,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Latham.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, moving on to new business. Have new business, I
Yes.
understand.
Yes, we do. It's the amendment to the public hearing procedures,
Okay.
proposed changes. Typically, I would have a PowerPoint, but tonight I'll just go over this. They're fairly brief on the Elmo. So what you see here is we're adding for the public notice, a conditional special use permits for the 300-foot of the boundaries, as we would typically do with annexations, a rezone, subdivision, and variances. Also, we're increasing the time allowed for individual testimony from 3 minutes to 4 minutes. That's what's being proposed. Also, you see as in item J above that clarifying the testimony is to be addressed to the commission and council and not to the audience, making that more clear within the public notice procedures. As well as you'll see in section 3, the order of the quasi-judicial public hearings, that currently, as you've seen tonight, staff comes up, we do sometimes a brief intro, sometimes a little longer intro, and then the applicant comes forward and then the staff report. So this will be modified, so it'll just be, we have a city staff report, it'll all be part of the intro, staff report, and then the applicant would then come following that. Some of these other items are just some legal cleanup that Warren Wilson, the city attorney, went through and just added some additional language just to make it more consistent and clear with the state code. And then the other proposal is for procedures regarding appeal hearings. We didn't have that element within our public hearing notice procedures, so that's being added for additional clarity. The reason for bringing this before you this evening isn't really for a recommendation to council, but more as a heads up, so you know that potentially once and if council approves this modification, that the whole procedural process may be modified here in the near future. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Do you have any questions for me or concerns with the proposed changes?
Anyone? Makes sense.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
John, can we get a copy of those? I didn't see that. Maybe I didn't see it in the packet.
Yeah, we'll get a copy sent to you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Manley, while you're up, any other staff comments? Russ, John?
No, I have no additional comments.
Okay. Commission comments, anything for the good of the order?
None.
Well, then that being said, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.
All right.